Solo Travel Japan, my 10-day trip. Going to Japan was like a parachute jump. Though I had been there as a child, I was still nervous about how much culture shock I would experience or if my Japanese language skills would be enough. Anxiety occasionally surfaced during the trip. But I reminded myself of what a parachute jump instructor had said before our group boarded a plane for our first jump, that we would not be there if we had been truly afraid, that a certain amount of anxiety was normal. To raise money for the 10-day trip, I worked a lot of overtime. But before my trip even started, some of that money went toward new tires and major maintenance for my car. The credit union only loaned me half of what I asked for, but together with my overtime money, it was enough to cover the $3,000 price tag for the trip. The first part of my trip was a travel package. The single supplement was $400. For the budget traveler I am, the package was expensive and luxurious. However, starting off comfortably, having a major hotel as a home base and tour guides to consult fortified me for the more risky second part of my trip. The night before I left the U.S., I did not sleep. I had recklessly left much of the packing to the last minute, but there would be plenty of time to snooze on the 12-hour flight to Japan from Los Angeles. An empty laptop computer case held passport, wallet, my itinerary, and other essentials. My laptop case sat easily on attached food trays on the plane and train. This made rummaging quick and easy for money, the guidebook, or paper to write on. My convertible backpack to suitcase was small enough to be an airplane carry-on. Also, it could be hefted onto and grabbed quickly off the overhead luggage racks on trains. Zippers on my backpack were secured with two small locks. ID tags were on my backpack and laptop case. Later, I removed the tags after leaving the airport for privacy and security. At Narita International Airport, I am met by an airport servicewoman who holds up a sign for Mr. Kat Avila. It would not be the last time a guide expected a solo man, but not a solo woman. On my first morning in Tokyo, the city is shrouded in gray, and my high-rise window is spattered with raindrops. After eating breakfast at McDonald's, I prepare to go out into the street. One of the brackets on my umbrella breaks. A bad omen. I tie the bracket back to the frame with string. For my day trip tour of Tokyo, I walk over to a nearby hotel for the pickup. Though it is Thanksgiving week, there are decorated Christmas trees in the lobby. I wait and wait for the bus. I am finally able to catch it because another woman staying at that hotel couldn't book the tour she wanted and ended up booking the same tour as mine. My travel agency had given me an itinerary with the wrong pickup point and time. I was supposed to have waited at my own hotel. The tour guide had been looking for me there. Also, I don't have a tour voucher because I was never given one. But the guide accepts my itinerary invoice as proof I paid for the trip. Our first stop is Meiji Imperial Shrine in Shibuya, built to honor Emperor Meiji and his Empress Shokin. Emperor Meiji was responsible for accelerating the westernization of Japan. At the Shinto shrine, we are shown how to purify ourselves at a water basin. Wash the left hand, the right hand. Rinse the mouth and spit, then return the water ladle. I offer thanks to the deities for getting me on the bus this morning. Next, we visit the 1,092-foot-tall Tokyo Tower and its main observatory. Tokyo Tower is a little taller than its inspiration, the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France. One guidebook said the TV and radio broadcast tower was not worth visiting, but I am so excited to be here. It's a great feeling to be at the top of the world, even though I can't see much of it at the moment because of the rain. Lunch is at the expensive Ginza Entertainment and Shopping District. This is where the Kabukiza Theater is located. Afterward, we take an uneventful boat ride on the Sumida River to Asakusa Kannon Temple. Kannon is the goddess of mercy in Japanese Buddhism. We reach Tokyo's oldest temple as what is left of the daylight dwindles away. The early onset of evening and the shortened off-season hours of some tourist attractions plague me on this trip. I join a day trip bus tour to Mount Fuji and Hakone, a hot spring resort area. There isn't a single rain cloud in sight. Several photographs of Mount Fuji do not come out because the snow-covered cone blended in too well with the subtly blue sky. At our first rest stop, I bravely negotiate a traditional squat toilet. On the drive back down the sacred mountain, the bus driver burns out his brakes. For the rest of the excursion, we are shuttled around in taxis. By 5 p.m., it is dark. I seat myself outside on the pleasure boat going across Lake Ashi. A Japanese youth, sitting front and center, lights up a cigarette. I wonder what he is thinking as he looks past the bow of the ship toward the mass of lights where we will disembark. Most of the passengers have retreated inside to the warmth of the cabins. Our tour group eventually breaks up. Half of the group will return by bus to their hotels. The rest of us are given Shinkansen tickets to Tokyo Station because we paid more to get back faster. But there will be no one to help us get back to our hotels at Tokyo Station, Japan's busiest train station if you count trains, a complex maze of transportation links and stores. 2 people are resigned to taking taxis back to their hotels. A fellow American traveling with her mother and grandmother shows me how to buy a train ticket and how to take the train back to my hotel. Nervously, I return to Tokyo Station to exchange my Japan Rail Pass voucher for the pass, which I should have done at the airport. I place a phone call to a native Japanese friend of a mutual friend. We will spend the day in Kamakura visiting the outdoor Great Buddha and surrounding temples and shrines. I put 10 yen into the phone. Our conversation cuts off mid-sentence after a minute. I put in 100 yen and hope that will be enough to finish the call. In Kamakura, I watch a toddler leave his tracks in a Zen rock and sand garden while his mother gently calls his name, oblivious to what is happening behind her. I thoroughly enjoy my visit to the site of Japan's first military government, mostly because I'm sharing the adventure with a new friend who knows her way around the place. I revisit Tokyo Tower on foot, stopping along the way at Zenkakuji, a Buddhist temple where 47 legendary samurai lie buried. Every Japanese boy and girl knows the story of the loyal, courageous Ronin, who were ordered to commit ritual suicide after avenging the death of their unjustly humiliated master. I have the 47 men to myself in the mist and rain, since it is still early morning. After a tour bus unloads, the air fills with fragrant clouds of burning incense. That afternoon, I have a reunion in Ueno Park with Yoshiko, a former English student. The art museum, Tokyo National Museum, is closed, so we head for an onsen that she had heard about. We soak naked and undisturbed in a steaming pool outside. The heat relaxes my aching leg muscles, sore from being on my feet all day and walking from my hotel in Shinagawa to Tokyo Tower to Hamamatsucho Station. As I gaze upward, the light rain falling on my face and shoulders is cool and soothing. The next few days after Tokyo, I am always on a train going somewhere. The Japan Rail Pass is handy because most of the time I only need to flash the pass at the station clerks. Train seat reservations are easy to obtain since it is off-season. I head north from Tokyo to Yamadera. I stubbornly climb the 1,000 stone steps to the top of Yamadera Temple. I now understand Matsuo Basho's famous haiku poem about the powerful peace enveloping the temple. My sister later comments that the endorphins probably kicked in from the long climb. As I take a break and sit down on the highest step, the sun peeks warmly through the clouds. Leaving my hotel in Aomori, at the northern end of Japan's largest and longest island, Honshu, I'm surprised to see that it's snowing. The snowflakes melt as soon as they hit the ground. Why did I venture this far north? Looking out the train window at the imposing, untamed frontier of Hokkaido, which is Japan's northernmost island, I find my answer. The wild, creative spirit of life, the impulse, still exists here. I travel into Hokkaido as far as the town of Shiraoi, where a well-known Ainu folklore museum exists, where it's already dark. Everything is, of course, closed. Disappointed and waiting for a southbound train, I note that everything I'm wearing is slightly damp and starting to smell. I head for Hakodate to catch a train to Honshu via the undersea tunnel. But I get off a stop too early, and the station closes before I realize my mistake. Feeling really pissed off, like a doused cat, I walk the distance from that station to the JR Hakodate station, though I easily could have taken a taxi. The walk takes 45 minutes. The JR Hakodate station is now closing. The station clerk doesn't throw me out because I have a JR pass, and I'll be catching the 3 a.m. train to Honshu. I spend the next few hours flipping through S. Shiba's book, Japanese in 3 Weeks. I move to the women's restroom to warm myself against a radiator there. A small, old homeless woman is curled up asleep in the bottom of the wooden luggage rack beside me. I don't sleep that night. There was a point I could close my eyes and still see the forests of the Tohoku region flashing by from the train window. When I reached the youth hostel at the 12th century Tenshoji temple in Takayama, I go to bed early. It has taken me all day to get here, by train and on foot. I am awakened only once by the early morning chanting of a Japanese Brazilian. She is sharing the room with myself, 2 Australians, and a native Japanese. Takayama, or Little Kyoto, is situated in the Japanese Alps of central Honshu. It becomes my favorite city, as most sites are within walking distance of each other. Returning from Hida Folk Village, an outdoor museum of mountain village life, I hear the joyful squeals of young children. I turn the corner to see a teacher scooping up an armful of brilliant red and orange maple leaves from the path. She tosses the leaves into the air. The children, all customarily wearing bright yellow hats, gleefully follow her lead. I reach Hiroshima that evening, another long train trip, and view the atomic bomb dome memorial at its eeriest and loneliest. It's all very unreal. I return to the train station via the city's vibrant, electronically flashing downtown area. Is it just a strange coincidence that I arrived in Hiroshima right in the 13th car and I'm leaving Hiroshima from track 13. I sleep in Shin Osaka, a point almost midway between Hiroshima and Tokyo. It's the best the station clerk can do for me at that time of night. All the morning trains from Hiroshima to Tokyo are booked, but I'll be able to catch a train to Tokyo Station from Shin Osaka, then from Tokyo Station to Narita Airport. I breathe a huge sigh of relief. I have to check in at the airport before tomorrow evening. I might make it back to the U.S. after all, I smiled to myself.